That moment changed my life, and I really struggled after that. And I was in a place where I was suicidal. Use tech to create space from the technology for what's important, which is outside of it. Everything is to help people not end up where I did, and if they do, to know they're not alone.
It's very easy to say, okay, I'm going to do it, right? Welcome back to another episode, and this one is really crazy. I was just in the Winner Play event just nearby in downtown Dubai, and I met Ryan Hopkins, who was one of the speakers in the event, and we never met before. Literally 10 minutes ago, I asked him, would you come to my podcast? And very kindly he said yes. Called the studio, we booked the studio, and here we are. So welcome, Ryan, and thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be here, but I'm grateful that I am.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's like on the last minute, and we were connected on the LinkedIn as well.
And we had no idea.
We had no idea. and as we were driving, we were looking at the LinkedIn profile and said, "Oh, we are connected."
Well, we're definitely connected now, aren't we?
Yeah. So Ryan, to my audience who doesn't know about him much, I'll just give a short introduction. He's a best-selling author and a speaker, creating healthier workplaces for millions with Jack and Bupa. He talks about a lot of wellness, well-being, and the mental health, which is super important in this day and age. Ryan, once again, welcome to the studio. Please tell the audience who doesn't know about you.
That's a pretty good summary of what I do. So I'm an author and a strategic advisor to the world's biggest companies now to help them make the most of their healthcare investments, to make workplaces where both individuals and the organizations can thrive. And I've been fortunate enough to work with workplaces covering more than 1.3 million people to date. I try and share this story openly, do a bit of content on socials, engaged about 20 million people on there. So I work at Jack, we've answered 1.6 million questions. And I personally intend to engage 1 billion people in this subject. So a small goal. I absolutely love it. I was previously the Future of Wellbeing leader at Deloitte, helped creating the consultancy, taking that work around the world. And now I'm proud to be the Chief Impact Officer at Jack and Strategic Wellbeing leader at Bupa. And if it isn't busy enough, I'm doing some other stuff in my free time, which we'll get into, right? But everything is to help people not end up where I did. And if they do, to know they're not alone. And that's why I'm here in Dubai for 10 days, trying to squeeze in as much as I can. Speaking to great people like you, doing the event like we did earlier with Spencer Lodge and Vanepal. And yeah, just really excited to get into it. Thank you for having me.
Cheers, my pleasure. So if I'll take you back, your younger years, okay, let's say your teenage years, okay, how was Ryan that time? How the life was treating you, how it impacted you, how it shaped you as growing up?
Yeah, nice small question to start then, right? So if we go 13 years old, I'm autistic. As I joked about on the stage earlier, I remember numbers and studies, I believe, like very well. And I like to piece those things together, which I think is why it's having an impact in the workplace, because I can see and join dots like other people can't, I believe. And I love it. But at 13, I was undiagnosed. So I was a bit of an odd sausage, as you would say in the UK. Never quite fit in, but I'd always try. I was gregarious, outgoing, confident on the surface. I played rugby. I carried quite a bit of weight when I was young, so I was a front row. I was a prop.
Okay.
Unsurprisingly. As I lost weight, I moved backwards in the scrum. So now if I play like blindside flanker or 12 or centre. Okay. I know you've had some amazing rugby players on the show, right?
Yes, we had the UAE rugby captain.
I can imagine he was a bit bigger in this chair, wasn't he?
Yes.
So I was trying to piece it all together. I think I was a smart kid, a difficult family situation with a split, and school wasn't a priority at that age. So rugby was my identity. I loved it. I met some amazing mentors, friends in that world. But I would say slowly piecing it together, always trying to have fun and look on the light side of things, but not quite sure who I was and my place in the world. And that took another 20 years to work out, as most of us are still doing so now.
Great. So you mentioned earlier, apart from your well-being and wellness side, which you talk about on various platforms, you're working towards this world record.
Yeah.
Right? What is all about?
Yeah, it's a small... So I don't know if you saw Russ Cook, the hardest geezer, run across Africa.
Yeah.
Unbelievable YouTube series.
Correct.
The production value is so good. Yeah. Almost as good as this podcast.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
So I was watching this show and I'm thinking, I love that mindset that he's got. He's like, no one's done it. I'm going to go and do this thing. And I'm all about that school of thought. That thinking is why the world changes, where you've got amazing people doing amazing things, like some of the guests you've had in this chair, right?
Yeah.
And I like to challenge myself. I did a couple of years ago, I did 19 consecutive ultra marathons across Spain on my own with my backpack. I just set off from Biarritz and went all the way to Santiago. Did an average of like 53 kilometers a day for 19 days in a row, and just on my own because I could. Because I want to challenge myself, and because I'm working through years of mental health challenges, I feel most alive when I come into those positions. I guess some demons I still need to work out, right? But I like to push myself, and I love it, and that's where I feel most happy. And I think my life goal is to be an old man who you want to sit next to at a dinner party. Say, go sit next to that bald man over there covered in tattoos who's dribbling. He's got some stories, right? And they will always say that I tried. So Russ ran across Africa. Unbelievable, like so inspiring. But I went back on his old YouTube catalogue and I found one of his old videos where he pulled a car up and down the seafront on the southern coast of the UK for 26 miles. And he set the world record, 9 hours and 3/4. And I thought, I can do that.
Really? So how much training you had that time?
I've done. I like to think I'm like the chunky Goldilocks. Okay.
Yeah.
So Russ is quite a light bloke. He runs ultra marathons, 100 times fitter than me.
Correct.
But he's quite light. I'm 90 to 100 kilos, depending if I had a big dinner or not. Right? But I can do that distance. So I think I'm in the perfect zone to be heavy enough and strong enough to pull the car, but then fit enough to do the distance. So I just said, I think I want to do this. So I shared it with the world. I said, I'm going to pull a car, 26 miles. I'm going to start training. I bought a sled, which I now go around the outside area around my flat in London, just round in circles for hours in the evening. People think I'm an absolute lunatic, right? And I'm just like, getting it done. But I love it. But unfortunately, a few weeks ago, I ripped my bicep and I had to have it repaired. So it's put a complete tear, moving a house, actually lifting a mattress, completely ripped
I read your post, yeah.
And that has been a real challenge, but it hasn't stopped me training legs, hasn't stopped me doing cardio. And I'm recovering now, starting to do upper body again. I will pull a car 26 miles. I don't know when, but I'm aiming for early next year. If I have to do it in a car park with no one watching, I don't care. I'm going to get it done.
It puts a lot of pressure on your knees, right?
It's not so much the knees. For me, it's like the back. We're leaning over because you've got the harness.
Yeah. And
you're almost leaning forwards completely. So like your lower back is like blowing up quite quickly.
Yeah.
Knees seem to feel okay, but I imagine when I start to push the distance that it's really going to start to tax those like ligaments and tendons and stuff. But I'm going to do a big challenge before. So I'm actually going to walk, I want to walk the Western Front, you know, from the First World War, from Switzerland to Swiss, German, French border.
Yeah.
All the way to the coast of Belgium. And it's about 1,000 kilometers. So I want to go and walk that ahead, do that on my own, just visit all the like memorials and stuff. Then I think that will get me match fit. And then hopefully then I can get it done.
How difficult it is to do these things by your own. It's very easy to say, okay, I'm going to do it, right? A long run or a long walk, cover the long distance by yourself. It's mentally very challenging. Right, and it's relate with your work as well.
Yeah.
Right, as a strategic well-being leader, okay, on Bupa, you also a chief impact officer with Jack, right? So it's quite related to your work. So what you feel as an individual doing these things on your own, and how it's impact your mental health, or how you cope with that?
Yeah. So I struggled for many years. I said when I was young, I was trying to fit in. I wasn't quite sure of my place in the world. And I had an accident when I was about 20, breaking my leg. And I didn't walk for about a year after that. And I was trained to be an electrician. So my life was going to be very different. I wasn't sitting here opposite you if that path continued. That moment changed my life. And I really struggled after that. And I was in a place where I was suicidal, and I wouldn't be here talking to you today if it wasn't for my mum and my nan. So it's big love to the grandparents, parents out there. You help young people when you know. But I got through that. Then I struggled with bulimia for a long time. And as a young man, that's not something that people really talk about, which I share openly now to help other people know they're not alone. So there's many, many years of like struggling. So everything I do, as I said, is to help people in that position. And with all the research I've done, I read every day. I'm hopefully starting my PhD in January this year. I wrote my book to give people the right information, like quicker, and make it simple on 52 different subjects, which is 52 weeks of wellbeing, my book. I've been working in this space for a long time now, and I'm trying to make it much more simple. So what I'm trying to say, how does this come through? There are two types of well-being according to Aristotle, right? You've got eudaimonic well-being, which is when you got like a sense of purpose, a strong why, you're giving back to community, that deeper sense of joy. The conversation that we have now creates eudaimonic well-being, contributing to something greater than yourself, and that often requires a lot of hard work. I don't know if you saw Ross Edgley has just finished a swim around Iceland for the first person in history, around the entire island, swimming in the Arctic Sea. Wild. But he's the happiest bloke in the world because he's doing something hard and he's pushing himself. So that's eudaimonic well-being. That's one side. Then you've also got the other side, which is hedonic well-being. And you know hedonic pleasures.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've known a couple in your time. Right?
Can we don't put it on the record, please?
We won't talk about that. So, but that's where we look for things external to ourselves, to a car, to like some ice cream, to alcohol, to gambling, to a quick feeling that's going to like generate some of that. But unfortunately, when you get that first feeling, there's something called the hedonic treadmill. You then adapt to that. Then that becomes normal. Then you need more and more and more. And often a lot, especially in the UAE, there's a lot of hedonic pleasures around us, right? It's the billionaire's playground, right?
Correct.
And that's great. And there's a place for that. But I think with eudaimonic well-being and that sense of purpose, that greater pushing, that for me is what makes me feel alive. And I love coming and doing nice things, eating nice restaurants. I eat some amazing food since I've been here. But I'm getting in the gym each day because I know I'm working towards something greater. And one day, as I say, I want to be like remembered hopefully as someone that always gave his best and tried. And then they'll be like, yeah, he did what he could. And I think that for me gives me that sense of purpose. And then when it's raining in the evening or it's a bit rubbish and the thought of going outside is horrible, I think, no, I know how good I'm going to feel when I get back inside.
As you're very right, that sense of purpose is important.
It's everything.
Right? It's everything. You wake up in the morning, you should have a purpose. Mm-hmm. Okay, how your day will be look like, what you'll be doing, how much impact you're making. Is there today is better than yesterday, even 0.5%, 1% better, right? You can making something positive.
Well, if you improve by 1% every day for a year, you're 3,778% better at the end of the year with compound interest. So actually it's the accumulation of little things over time. That's all there ever is. Correct. And well-being we've confused to be something we have to go through a course or an IV jab or a program or a class. It's not that. It's about the little things we do every single day. And that's what makes a good or a bad life. But that's how habits accumulate over time. And that's all there ever is. And we're looking for this quick fix. But unfortunately, there isn't one, which is why we're looking for those hedonic pleasures to make us feel some form of satisfaction in like a very busy, chaotic life. But when we get closer to understanding who we are and what we're working towards, then we're able to then focus on those things and then everything else feels much lighter. But it's hard to find and it's rich for me to say because other people are not in the same position as me. But I did struggle for many years and I know where I was and where I am now. And when I've got these big things, as obscene as they feel, they give me that purpose. And I feel like a different person compared to who I was many moons ago. And I'm very grateful.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. So you are also a best-selling author.
Yeah.
Right? Tell us about your book.
Yeah. So where I worked at Deloitte as a consultant was my first grad job. I was an old graduate because I only went to university late because I traveled the world, set up a hostel business in South America with an indigenous family. I've done every job you can imagine, right? If you think of one now, I've done it. But so I went to university late because I didn't get many qualifications when I was young. As I said, difficult situation. Finally went to university, got on the Deloitte grad scheme, which was amazing, like the best education I could have hoped for. And I was very fortunate again. And worked my butt off there, but I always felt a bit different. And I started to set up wellbeing functions, teams, have those conversations, create those groups. But this was a long time ago before it was really normal. And it wasn't a full-time role there. But I knew I wanted to do this full-time. So I left to go and work in a wellbeing role at Sainsbury's, the supermarket, as you know, supermarket in the UK. And that was an amazing role. And I said, when I come here, to be a leader in this space, you've got to show up and start speaking and talking and communicating this to the world. And I think I treat well-being like a discipline. That's like a big program plan. I speak about it like a finance function, which then gives us the opportunity to integrate into the business. So I started writing and sharing content, and I soon developed a show called Toilet Break Wellbeing. And it's as silly as it sounds. I did a selfie on the toilet, and I was like, well-being is no small thing, but made up of small things. And if you did 10 press-ups every time you went to the toilet, you'd do 29,200 press-ups this year.
Wow.
And you would be absolutely jacked. Not this one, that was a little bit smaller. But it's about the little things. So I started this show, and eventually I had like a ring light set up in my bathroom. People used to think it was an OnlyFans channel happening in my house, but you were safe, I promise. But I did all this content, started pushing this out into the world, did over 100 episodes there, and then put this into a book proposal. So I put it to a publisher and said, what about Toilet Break Wellbeing? I imagine it being like a book you've got by the side of the toilet, and you could read one thing about a little thing you could do when you leave, because as we said, it's about the little things. And they were like, respectfully, Ryan, this is never a book. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, no worries. So I said, like, let me go away. Let me try and think about something. And I was like, what about making work less? Beep, 1 week, 1 day, like 1 week at a time. And they were like, swearing wouldn't work in the Middle East. We want this to be a global book. What about 52 weeks? I was like, I like that. I was like, what about 52 weeks of well-being, a no-nonsense guide? So it's 52 different subjects that I'd released videos, like little bits on each one. So I'd researched them all anyway. They were like, yeah, let's go with it. Let's do it. 52 weeks. We want to make it really practical, demystifying well-being at work, giving people practical tools to make change rather than theory or just someone sharing their experience. Like, how can I make some small tweak today on these different subjects? Everything from like the Japanese art of kintsugi, which I can tell you about in a minute, or like marginal gains, or understanding yourself, or dealing with meetings and all these things. So I got the contract in February. I was like, yes, I got a flipping book contract. Uh-huh. So I went every single weekend to Putney Wetherspoons.
Okay. Okay, Wetherspoons.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
I went every single morning, 9 o'clock. I was staying until about 3 o'clock writing until the people started boozing. So 6 hours a day, 12 hours every weekend for, I think it was about 20 weeks in a row, every single day. Same time, same order, same coffee. And that routine got me nearly finished. And then I flew one way to Sicily and traveled on the north coast to finish. I wanted to feel like a writer that didn't just write their book in Wetherspoons. Released that January last year. Was then like a #1 business book, even briefly, like above like Mo Gawdat, Simon Sinek. Yeah. And I got the screenshots. I was like, yes, I did it. And then now it's been released in 6 different languages. So with Jareer across the Middle East soon. Korean, Dutch, German, Arabic, Turkish, English.
Wow.
And it's been amazing. And it's helped a lot of people who fed back and then made them feel that it's actually really accessible. This subject isn't soft and fluffy. It can be really practical, the simple things. It's been a wild journey, and like it really excited to do another one, if I'm honest. Like I love it. It's hard work, but having that, again, it's another hard thing. And when you don't mind putting the hours in, doing those things, working the weekends. So I'm like, I'm going to write a flipping book that's going to help people. And when you understand and you work with that purpose, there's nothing more fulfilling. And that's why now I'm starting a PhD, as I said. I want to do another book. I'm doing all this work. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm working a day most of the time. And again, a lot of people are not in that privileged position. I understand that we're lucky with what we do, right? You love it as well. But there are little moments and things that we can focus on to pull some purpose back in and create some difference.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Your journey is like all the way, right? There's so many things. So we just talk in the event. You was talking in Beneplay event, and great shout out to Spencer Lodge, amazing event. Where you see the future of wellness and well-being, especially this part of the world?
Yeah. So
because let me a little bit elaborate, because as we mentioned in that event, there's a great question from the audience as well. People are still not open to talk about this, especially the male society. It's very egoistic. I have done some projects in Saudi as well. So and I sat with the teams. There's a big companies, a lot of pressure, stress, and it's affecting their mental health. Okay, but they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, because the society will not approve it. Okay. There might be the managers doesn't understand it. The management will not understand, and you might have some implications if you talk about it openly. So, where you see the where we're heading with this? There's a lot of talks coming, right? There's a lot of platforms where people can go and talk or listen to various instructions and talks. So, where do you see the future of well-being?
I'm going to break it down a little bit, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So it's been treated historically like something that we address when we got 5 minutes. Like, oh, okay, well, we got an event later, so we'll talk about it then. But actually, it's fundamental to every single day because there's no performance in the long term without well-being. There are obviously peaks and troughs and spikes and lulls. And there's sometimes you're going to have to work a 12-hour day. I bet you've done enough of them, right? When you got stuff to do, client demands. There are other days when you don't. You need to make sure you take that time back to rest. So it's about understanding long-term well-being equals performance. Big study at BT from the Oxford Wellbeing Research Centre found that a 1-point increase in happiness for staff resulted in a 13% increase in sales. So happy people that can prioritise their well-being are in a better position to perform for the business. They're less likely to leave, then less likely to go off sick as well. So that's a demonstrable effect on the business. So to change this, we need to start treating well-being like a discipline, like we would a sales function or a finance team, and looking at it objectively, saying, okay, how are these people in the business? How many are going off sick? How many are leaving? What's the performance like? How are we creating the space for smart people to do work in a way that suits them? And there's one way of looking at it for those of us that are fortunate enough to work on laptops, but a lot of people, particularly here, most don't, and they're neglected from this conversation. So that's the first piece, is treating it like a discipline. With analytics, talking about it in a way that you would with a finance function, then you're going to get the right to continue to do the things that are going to create a difference. Because right now it's very difficult when it's a nice to have. Then with global tariffs and everything that's going on in the world, it's not a priority when it gets raised to that level if it isn't discussed in the same way or function. So that's the first part. Then you've got second, there's people historically who engage in well-being and wellness interventions in the workplace are those that engage in it outside. So we're not actually engaging anyone new. You go to the gym, you train, right? You're probably going to do that regardless of not whether you get given a workplace membership. So what we need to try and do is engage the 90+% of people who don't engage in these initiatives, right? And that's the people who are working shifts on site. A lot of men who don't start the conversation. So how can we meet them rather than the people who simply are getting the care at the moment, leading into that prevention? Because there is a huge inequity of care and support. Here in the UK, everywhere. Perhaps more pronounced here with the amount of people working on sites and like manual labour, or in the service economy as well, because they're limited in their time, aren't they? So they have very little flexibility on how they spend it. But I wrote a post recently about flexibility, almost how that isn't the goal. Like the illusion of flexibility is essentially, if you've got predetermined flexibility, like you can work here for a certain amount of time, you don't have freedom, you just got a longer leash. What we need to look for instead is a sense of agency. And we need to empower smart people to work in a way that suits them. So for you, that could be choosing where you work, when you work. Brilliant. A lot of people will not have that choice. But there's always some scope on how they spend their time. As we said, well-being is no small thing, but made up of small things. And every single person can afford to make 5 minutes to prioritize something for themselves. So it's about understanding the different cohorts of people that we're trying to serve, understanding what their day looks like, trying to maximize agency wherever possible. Some people it's more limited. And saying, actually, these are the little things that you can do to make a change. And then when you think about how we can deliver to those people, at Jack, it's short form video content, which looks and feels like social media, but it's validated. So we've got 120 different mental health, physical health, wellness type topics, but it's delivered like, almost feels like TikTok, a bit Netflixy. And that's really cutting through. So we've answered 1.6 million questions now, demystifying things that are simply not understood by making it feel quite cool. And that's how we can cut through in this space, because often if people have an issue, they'll either turn to social media, which is horrendous, or they'll turn to like the reams of clinical information. So we're trying to sit at the beginning of the two. And there are there's a lot of companies in this space, not just Jack, who are doing amazing work to normalize that conversation. And by serving different, understanding the different cohorts and how we can meet them and taking a data-led approach, it's going to change completely. And then when we do that, we can drive performance, and we'll start to see average cost of treatments reduced because we're meeting people earlier with prevention. We can then understand the impact on the business. Then when the business understand it, they prioritize it. then it's an up reinforcing positive cycle. But where we are right now with the lack of assessment and understanding, we're just not engaging. We're hitting our head against a brick wall almost. So we need to think about it completely different, think how we can engage those different groups. But yeah, data-led, different cohorts, engaging with social media type content to begin that conversation. And then we make sure when they come on to Jack that we pathway them to wherever they need. Conversation starts here. Did you know you had this benefit? Conversation starts here. Here's this charity that leading to this subject. And by turning up in that fashion, we've helped organizations, many, one to reduce mental health absence, one to drive people to use the menopause support, another to improve the employee experience scores, all by giving them a space to ask questions and get the right information, the right format, the click of a button. Because we're not delivering stuff the way people want to consume it.
Yeah, it's a great platform. I was looking at all the slides you're showing, right? There's a lot of people who are talking about it. And it's all about the case studies or your work examples. And people always feel comfortable when the manager goes and talk with their, let's say, the HR point of view, right? Which you were talking earlier, and sit with their staff and they talk about, and they give these live examples which happened. It build up this confidence. So people can use these services, because a lot of people,
anonymously, to your point, like in Saudi or even the UAE, it's hard to have certain conversations because it's not as open as other parts of the world. So imagine if we had a place where people could just get the information they need without fear of judgment or reprisal.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? That's amazing. Then it can be when you start to understand that you're not the only person in the world that feels like that, then you can begin your journey to get some help to focus on the things that matter. And by serving it in this fashion, making it completely anonymous to ask a question, you've had countless people who started their journey on that platform because they see one person who's going through something just like them. And the power of that is profound. Yes,
correct. It's amazing. Yeah. And the amazing work you do. This is one of the spontaneous podcasts ever I recorded.
We've done well, keeping a bit of structure to it, considering we organised this in the car on the way here, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really grateful that you agree. We met in the morning in the breakfast on that event, and it's now coming to 11:50 a.m.
We've done well, right? Turning this around.
And we recorded the podcast. So thank you so much coming
Absolute
to the
pleasure.
platform. Any message you want to give to the people, especially the young generation who are going to the work now? They are in this social media culture, right? There's a lot of pressure coming, watching all these videos, or where I can get this advice. There's a stress affecting their mental health. Any advice for these people?
Yeah, and advice to the people around them. So while Jack is an incredible platform, it's digital. And I find that what we're trying to do is get people to the human faster. So we're not replacing, we're not giving advice with any sort of AI tool, rather helping people to see humans sharing their experience. And my advice, that the best solution to digital problems is often an analog one. If you're struggling and you've got your phones going off all evening, spend time and have dinner with your family without a message from your manager saying, where are the slides, right? Put your phone in the drawer. If you want to have, and then also thinking about when people are struggling, the first conversation is often the hardest. And while you might get the information from a digital tool, come offline and speak to someone you care about. When I was struggling, my first conversation about my bulimia was with my mum, and we sat down for a long time, and it's the hardest conversation I've ever had in my life, but the most important, and that was in person without a tool. So I find that while all of these things are amazing, what that's bringing us back to an increasingly digital world is more time with one another like this today. And I hope we'll be friends after this, right? Because we spent this time together. And that's what's so important. Use tech to create space from the technology for what's important, which is outside of it. I think creating space for that, being more intentional about how we come together in offices, creating space away from Teams calls, outside of work, putting your phone away. That's ultimately all there ever is.
Yeah, great advice. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ryan, for your time. Much appreciated.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you. My audience will see you in the next episode. Thank you.